I think that goes all the way through to the other street. If I move this cart, you could walk up its shadow, couldn't you?
My name is Guillaume Provost. I'm the creative director and founder for Compulsion, and we're working on a game called Contrast.
And I knew right away that you would want me.
It's a game set in the 20s. We wanted to mix, really interesting settings of the 20s and the 40s. So mixing vaudeville and burlesque from the 20s and the film noir era from the 40s, kind of wedged jammed together in kind of a unique pudding. You play the imaginary friend of a little girl named Didi. I was very inspired by Pan's Labyrinth and the idea of Ophelia, which is a little girl in Pan's Labyrinth, imagining or inventing imaginary friends to cope with serious issues that surrounded her life. So from a basic gameplay perspective, you run around like in Tomb Raider, but like in any a situation where you have imaginary friends need special powers. So in our game Contrast, what's so special about the game is you can run around like in Tomb Raider, but you can at any point in time go to any lit wall surface and effectively become your shadow. And that allows us to do a lot of cool things about different ways of traversing through environments, and it forms the basis for what is essentially a multi-dimensional puzzle platformer. On the puzzle front, if you want, the ability to be able to move a light in the environment, for example, as a very simple mechanism, automatically changes the entire landscape of shadows around you. So you can imagine that you can really literally cross across or navigate across the space in an infinite amount of ways that are really only bound by your imagination in certain specific situations. In other cases, we have objects that are shadow casters that you can move, and you can kind of literally build stairs or shape out the shadows that they cast. Because as you bring them closer to the light, the shadow grows. As you bring them further away from the light, the shadows will grow smaller, and you kind of position them in a way that you're kind of building the platform that you're going to be platforming on. On the platforming side, we've explored, again, the idea of being able to skip and move between spaces. So there's situations, for example, in the game where you'll have to run off a ledge in 3D, but you won't have another ledge to catch you. So we have these areas where you have to transition in mid-jump, for example, and catch yourself on a shadow ledge. We really wanted to build a mechanic that was, and I was very inspired by Portal in this sense. We really wanted to build a mechanic that was seamless in the experience, so you maintain your momentum across the spaces, so you can do all kinds of funky things. In fact, it's been a really rewarding process to see focus testers that we would sit down on a couch, and the first few times their brains would explode because we threw a little bit too many tools at them, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's too many possibilities." But then over time, when we started finding a way to really teach players through the mechanics of dealing between the two spaces and understanding how well they're interlinked in the game, we started seeing players find very creative solutions to the problems. And to me, that's really one of the most rewarding experiences as a creative director, is when you see kind of a player really go at it and do things that you'd never imagined they would be able to do. The mechanic came first. Really the idea of going through shadows and melding between the spaces and having interlinked spaces working together was really the first idea that propped out of the game. We had several sources of inspirations for both the setting and the time period. One of the eras that we felt was really well suited to our mechanic was film noir, because traditionally in film noir, the use of shadows has been really one of the most key elements of telling story or showcasing characters. We felt that melded really well within our game mechanics in our world. I was also living in Lyon, in France, at the time that I penned the original design for the document. So a lot of the architecture that's in the game is directly inspired from that city. The kind of the red rooftops and the old cobblestone streets really come out from that city. There are definitely elements in the game that we'll reveal about the imaginary character. The biggest role that she plays in the game is really to help the child cope with or resolve family issues. And we didn't want to tell just the regular story of the long lost princess of a tragedy that happened. We wanted to tell something that was a little bit more grounded. And I think we're lucky in that sense, because I feel that we've hit on a time in the market where these kinds of topics of family and parenthood are a lot more preponderant in games. I mean, I can take Clementine in The Walking Dead as a recent example of that. So I'm really excited that we're falling at a great time for the market for it. It is a complex mechanic, and we go quite deeply into the ways that you can interact between the spaces. So one of the big things that we want to make sure we're giving the players is that really progressive understanding of how the spaces interact throughout the game, ensuring that we're providing them on one side with a smooth experience so that they're not like really frustrated or blocked because they don't know where to go or what to do. But the flip side of it that's been really creatively great is when we see players try things that the game doesn't allow them to do, that as a creative director I'm like, wow, we should allow them to do those things. And that's been a really great experience of like, hey, let's make that possible. Let's make this solution possible, because we should reward the players for being smart. We had a really fantastic response from the gaming community. We had over 200,000 players come over and give us some support, and we've also listened quite a bit to the feedback of the community. And so we wanted to give back to that community. We're going to go out and have a Steam PC launch, which we're hoping to release in May. We're still waiting for an actual physical date from Valve, but we were expecting it to come out in May on Steam. And we've been talking with both the console manufacturers and publishers to bring the game to console, because we feel like it would be a great experience to bring to the living room. So, fingers crossed.